Hello.
Hi, I'm Petra Elliott.
I'm John Richards.
And we are the creators of Night Terrace and also a podcast about Doctor Who, Splendid Chats.
And Night Terrace is our audio drama about a house that goes travelling through time and space, as it does. And
what sort of house, John?
It's a time-travelling terrace house.
Terrace house, hence the name.
It's a pun. And we're currently kickstarting season 3. So if you want to see Susan from Neighbours, a.k.a. Jackie Woodburn, do her thing. Follow wherever the link is. It's probably there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll tell you a little bit more about that. But the main reason we decided to get together today, John, is you have recently written an episode of
Doctor Who. I got to play in the shallow ends of Doctor Who. I got to scribble on the wall in the corner of Doctor Who, which I'm so excited to have done.
Yeah, delightful.
So I was asked by Big Finish to write one of their short trips, which is they're basically monologues. So they're often like audiobooks. So single
voice rather than multiple voices telling a story,
but still storytelling.
Okay.
And so I was asked to do something for Peter Capaldi's Doctor, and I thought, well, he's a white man, so why hasn't he done a podcast by now? So
There's a list for presenters, by the way, a list of rules. You can hear it. This is it. Oh, that's rock and roll, isn't it? Nothing more counterculture than a list.
So it had to be set at St Luke's in between.
It had to, as
you
were given that.
I was told. Yes, I was told basically St Luke's between seasons. Is it 10, 11, or 9 and 10? Numbers.
So basically pre-bill.
Pre-bill after Clara. Yeah. And so I thought he'd do a podcast. And the other thing, because I always loved playing with sound, was I'd been thinking about print through. So the whole idea is that basically the Doctor's found some cassettes in the TARDIS. There's this weird effect on them. He starts to realise that, in fact, something is trapped within the cassettes. And he goes to the AV Club to see if someone can help him, find out what's going on.
I think there's something living in the magnetic field of the tape. Something trapped. Something that wants to get out. Looking for kitchen appliances? Get your Fillet spatulas of commerce. St. Luke's kitchenware monger of choice for more than 7 years. 36 Henthorne Drive, near the Mackenzie Library Annex. A proud sponsor of People of St. Luke's. Sorry, the paper said I had to do that. Where were we? Oh, yes.
It was only after I finished it I realised it's also the Time Monster, the story from the 70s that I've apparently rewritten. But
were you written or given different context?
I don't know.
But you have made a lot of references to old and new Who in this.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll touch on a little bit as we go. You've just mentioned print through as well. And I found myself wondering, is that a real thing?
It's a real thing. So print through is this thing with reel-to-reel type audio. So because it's on a spiral, like it's on a spool, the bits that touch each other, because it's magnetic tape, if it's not played often enough, you actually get
so
this...
So you don't break the magnet.
Yeah, so if you play it all the time, it's fine. You don't get this effect. But if it sits for a while, you get this thing where the sound can actually convey to the sides of the tape that are... You can actually hear it. You can, if you listen, you can hear, when you get to a silent bit, the last line repeated.
So it's interesting. I just had to get a bunch of stuff that I've been storing at a friend's place, and one of them was a box of cassettes that I just, I can't bear. I don't own a cassette player, but I can't bear to throw out this bunch of cassettes, because for me it's like that kind of nostalgia of, this is the music that I first was engaged by. So my very first cassettes, the stuff that I would tape off the TV, I even used to sit on Rage and press pause and play, or do it on the radio.
Do you also have some of your own music though? Because I've got some like old Stand-Up Kings and stuff that are and they're only on these like weird bits of...
Even better, I had a Barbie cassette that I think I got from a show bag, and I think I did the world's first podcast on that thing, where I was recording friends of mine talking, and so maybe.
So and you have those, and you keep going, because I've got one of those USB tape decks at home. I've never got around to actually transferring any of this stuff, but it's one day I will. Anyway, and the reason also I want to talk to you about this, so the Doctor has a sort of pseudo companion in Ted Media, who is in the AV Club.
I was asked by Petra in the AV Club if I would present an episode. Have you met Petra? She's in the AV Club, so probably not.
the character is revealed, of course, we know she's Petra, but in fact she's revealed to be Petra Elliott.
Yes,
Now,
which I didn't know about.
You knew nothing, did you?
I knew nothing.
Okay.
So, I'm being supportive of my co-creator of Night Terrace and Splendid Chaps. Oh, he's written an episode for Big Finish. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to download that thing. It's only $2.99. Even if it sucks, it's going to be fine. And I'm listening to it, and then the doctor's referring to Petra. And, there's a couple of times when he says Petra, it's in that tone of voice where it feels very parental, and I kind of, what have I done wrong? And I must admit, I did sort of think, oh gosh, John's scraping the bottom of the barrel for names these days.
I am bad at names.
And then he drops, it was feeling slightly narcissistic, if I'm honest, going, has he? No, he hasn't. And then Professor Elliott pops up ahead and...
Did you hear the two T's?
I did. I did. So I was very surprised, and I did feel like the episode was speaking to me slightly more than normal. But also there was a lot of references in there that I really enjoyed. Things like the reference to Muppets, which being a puppeteer, I really engaged with. The monster at the end of this book, I was one of my favourite stories.
I have actually, the monster at the end of this book, which is the best-selling Sesame Street book of all time. Yeah, which version did you get, Grover or Alamo, when you were a kid?
Grover.
I know. Genuine.
And
authentic.
Here's the thing that I am very slightly upset by is my house flooded years ago, and the only thing I have left from my childhood, apart from Alf sitting there, was a box of my kids' books. And Monster at the End of this book was one of the books in there that I had to throw out because it got flood damage.
Oh, that is sad.
So, it was Grover.
Yeah.
I
love Grover, and I love that book. And it was the first book I ever read that kind of... it was meta before we had the word. It was, it broke the fourth wall. It talked to you directly. I've used it before in a spoken word piece I did for one of Lisa Sky's queer things for Midsummer. What is the monster? Who is the monster at the end of this book? And so I wanted to use that. And originally, we went through a few titles for the Big Finish piece. So it was called at one point The Monster at the End of this podcast, which they didn't like because the word podcast. The same reason we had the confusion with Night Terrace. If you say podcast, people think it's a free thing, and it gets...
Sure. What was it called in the end?
It was called Dead Media, which actually...
Oh, as in for the actual title.
Yes, the podcast within it.
Story.
He still gives it a title in that This American
Life.
Life.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So This American Life kind of way he gives it the title. But the whole original title was, so at one point it was Print Through, at one point it was The Monster at the End of this podcast. It was actually David Ashton who suggested Dead Media, so that came from our co-creator David. And I tried also, because of the whole podcasting thing, I tried to get Ben McKenzie and David Ashton mentioned in there as well as yourself. McKenzie still got through. Ashton got changed somewhere along the line. I think I said Ashton Street, and they may have changed it to a real street in Bristol.
How dare they? Sure. How very dare.
That was quite fun. So but the restrictions they gave me were basically, they wanted it at the uni, they wanted it before Bill. A lot of the short trips are sort of more audio books, and I wanted to write something that was performance based because that's the thing I write.
Sure.
And so I said, can I make it a monologue? And they're like, yeah, but don't do a lecture because we've done that. Don't do a thing to tape because we've done that. So there was a bunch of things I'd already done.
Okay.
And then I came in going, can it be a podcast? They went, oh, that's good.
I must admit, I found that interesting, wondering why you chose to do a podcast, given, you had a successful smash hit podcast for, I can't get that in there.
Yeah.
A podcast for a year about Doctor Who. And again, that was one of the very meta things for me.
My favourite thing is when I found is that TARDIS Wiki, I think, has a piece about Dead Media.
Right.
And then it refers to the fact that obviously Petra is named after you and we're friends and we did...
Are we friends?
I thought that was pushing it. And then we obviously did Splendid Chaps together. I thought that was really fun to have. But no, I like the idea of the podcast because it's a whole podcasting, and I've done a few of them now. I always think you're talking much more to an individual than you are with, say, radio. Radio,
that's true.
You're talking to a mass.
You're assuming you've got more audience than you probably do.
Yeah, whereas a podcast, you kind of really am.
It's very intimate.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you're inside the head, because often people listen on headphones.
Yeah.
And so, and there is a twist at the end of Dead Media where we reveal kind of who the Doctor is talking to. But that I kind of just liked that idea of, I wanted to be able to talk to someone, and this was a good way of doing it in a way they hadn't done before.
The actor who was playing the 12th Doctor, Jake
Dudman.
Dudman, did a splendid job, by the way.
Yeah, well, he came originally to Big Finish to do some of the Matt Smith things. Yeah, so he's been doing some Matt Smith.
He's quite young.
He does an amazing Matt Smith.
It all just goes, doesn't it? Everything you are gone in a moment, like breath on a mirror. Any moment now, he's a-coming.
So you've got Jake Dudman doing Peter Capaldi, doing the character of Petra, who he says is Welsh, but he can't do the accent.
So to be fair, I can't do it either.
So you have all these levels going on. He says, I can't do the accent, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you have that weird level of voices going
mimicry
on.
happening.
And it's interesting because I don't know if Jake sounds sort of exactly... I mean, he doesn't sound exactly like Capaldi, but it's more like a sense of Capaldi. Like it's
definitely. It's he's certainly embodying the character of Capaldi as the Doctor, I felt.
Yeah. It was also weird because we've produced so much audio together now to not be able to know what it was going to sound like until after it was released, because I bought my own copy. I'm sure they would give me one, but it sounded so tacky to go, can I get something that costs less than a coffee for free? Like, it just felt so,
But also that you didn't get to hear it before it was released. Like, I think
You heard it before I did.
Before you did.
Yes.
And that was amusing.
Yes, I started getting messages from people saying how much they liked it. And I was like, oh, good. And it took me ages because I was terrified of listening to it. Because I had no control over it.
Well, because you've been very much like you're a head writer on Night Terrace. You've written at least 2 of the episodes each season.
I think 3.
2 to 3.
Yeah.
But also you're in the booth making sure that we get the takes that are needed for, and so you're almost playing that director role.
It's really, because Night Terrace we don't have a director.
No.
We officially don't have a director because we're all kind of director. But David and I are in the booth.
Yeah.
Probably with the most kind of overview of what's happening.
Yeah.
So So to lose that control, to be able to go, oh, someone will just do it and finish it. And so parts of it were quite different. Like, I imagined it probably a lot faster in my head than Jake did. And I also probably in my head imagined more audio effects than it has, which of course it shouldn't have because it's a podcast. And I thought it's funny, isn't that whole thing about this trapped on Earth thing? Because that's Pertwee and he's desperately trying to get away. And it was weird to think that no one ever kind of mentioned that when Capaldi has deliberately chosen to stay, out of some obligation and responsibility. And I thought it was kind of interesting that there was that for a Doctor who was influenced, even in terms of his costume, by Pertwee. There was all these weird echoes. So I started trying to tie that together, going, well, he's looking through all this dead media, all these old tape machines and things, but this is all the stuff that would have been the props back in the unit days. And everyone would go, oh, one of those
house.
One of those
much technology, very future.
Yes, so wow. And those old computer things with the spinny tape reel things.
Well, see, this was one of my very narcissistic moments. Is before I studied acting, I was actually studying sound engineering. So young baby Petra. Very much, I was, as soon as that reference about the redhead sticking her head out from out the back of a reel-to-reel, I imagined the studio room at college where I was learning.
Well, I mentioned something about those metal shelves full of just dead stuff. And it's funny too because they go looking for a cassette player, and we tried to do that once at Triple R. So I had this thing for a while. I was reviewing, as you do. I had a blog where I was reviewing board games based on film and television.
That's a whole other episode.
So I would buy them in op shops. And one of the ones I bought was a Young Talent Time game, which came with a cassette that you had to play at certain points. And of course, it didn't have a cassette player. Went to Triple R, where we've been doing Box Cutters podcast, and we searched. I think we found it in Studio 7, which I didn't know existed. Studio 7 was basically a cupboard. It was under the table.
I do feel like, I've got a bunch of DVDs and, when I was studying acting, it was all VHS, and I can't, even though I have digitized the stuff from that I created in these days, I still can't get rid of the VHS.
Yeah.
There's something about having that original copy.
I've got like a U-matic tape of a video clip I made, and I've got, again, all these formats, there's no way of playing. I don't even know if this stuff's playable. The whole thing about Silent Cinema is like a third of it all things missing. It just got deleted. And then, of course, we have that thing that, we know from Doctor Who, there's 100 episodes of that are missing. It's only from the 60s and 70s, but people didn't think it was worth keeping. And now we're in the digital age, and I'm not sure anyone's keeping anything. Like, I'm kind of concerned that stuff could just vanish overnight because everyone thinks it's somewhere.
It's somewhere, but you don't know where. So, and this is a thing from a records management point of view, my corporate career. We're creating all this stuff, but we're not logging it properly. We're not you know, and we're also, I think we're storing stuff by uploading to sites that may or may not even be around.
Yeah, exactly. So if YouTube went off like tomorrow, like Vine was one that, you know, I think a whole stack of stuff on Vine just vanished because people didn't have copies. Even some of the stuff like, for our previous night terrace things, we did a couple of videos with the Dancing Bilby. I don't actually
You don't have the
masters
original,
of those. No,
right.
I think they have.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, but obviously everyone's something higher. It's probably on one of the computers that's in a box. I've got like a whole bunch of laptops in a box under a bed.
Same, yeah. And I know that I should get rid of the laptops or an iPad that doesn't even turn on anymore, but because it
might have something on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does. It has all the scripts that we used to record season 2 and a whole bunch of stuff that I need to get off, but have no idea how without spending a lot of money. And this is a thing about media and dead media, like where we sit and film. There's boxes of old storage units and keyboards and like music media that the devices themselves still work, but our technology, our laptops are evolving so quickly in terms of software that they're not compatible anymore.
Yeah. One of the very first episodes, actually it's the very first episode of Night Terrace, actually has a bit of wax cylinder music in it.
No.
Yeah,
Which
so
bit?
the weird Hawaiian music that plays when the rats nose.
Oh, when they're in the leisure planet.
When they first get welcomed in. So they're on a leisure planet and there's music playing in the background. It's apparently off a wax cylinder, so it's copyright free because it's one of the oldest pieces of recording. And I just love the fact that David has put something from a wax cylinder into this fully digital, production.
But obviously it was a digital sample that he used?
Yeah, it's found it from somewhere. But just that fascinating of tying those two things together is really...
So tell me more about the process of actually writing the episode. I mean, we've touched on the fact that you had no idea what it was going to sound like, but when you did have... Like, how were you approached, or how did you go around?
So Alfie Shaw sent me an email. He was asked to produce...
Alfie Shaw?
So Alfie Shaw is producing 2 years' worth of short trips. I have a feeling it's also Big Finish trying to get some new writers in, which is a lovely... It might be a tryout thing, which I'm kind of hoping it might be, but it's a fantastic idea if it is. And so basically it was like, do you want to write this? It's Capaldi, which was exciting because I love that doctor. It goes in here. They give that kind of background. What can you do with it? And so I pitched my ideas to them. They then take those to the BBC to make sure there isn't an episode coming up in which the doctor becomes a podcaster. So
we did talk to someone who that had happened.
It had happened. Yeah, it does happen that people will touch on things.
I think it's in an earlier Splendid Chat.
It's in a Splendid Chat somewhere, and I've forgotten to. I think it's the one about books.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
And that thing of, because it's happened before at Big Finish, they might have a master thing coming up and they go, oh no, you're not allowed to use the master. Or, So that's what they do. Then they come back, and my first draft was awful. It was the worst thing I'd ever written. It was so bad. And I had to send this thing off that was just terrible in order to kind of work out how to make it better. Like, it was a thing of, and I had to kind of go, yes, this is a real draft.
Was this scary for you?
Yeah, it was awful.
Were you worried that they were going to turn around and go, actually...
Well, also because I love Big Finish so much, I had a real nervousness about running for Big Finish. And
how long have you been, listening to Big Finish?
Oh, years. I mean, before Doctor came back, in 2005. So it was just that embarrassment of kind of having to go, this is my first go. And... yeah, it was dreadful. But through doing that, I've worked out kind of... Because also, it's a story in which the Doctor loses. That's what I kind of wanted to write. It's hard to write about someone losing without it being... you want it to be dynamic.
Sure.
So I needed him kind of to do a bit more, from the first version.
Okay.
And work through how to do the voices. So there was a few more drafts like that. Then it was just usually quite small stuff. Interesting, there's a whole bunch of things you can't do. So,
like what?
So there's a line where he says...
This isn't how I usually spend my time, obviously. I'm not a podcaster, or a vlogger, or an online style influencer, or a wax cylinder enthusiast, or what have you.
Now, the original line, he said, I'm not a YouTuber or an Instagrammer. And I got told I couldn't say YouTube or Instagram.
Oh, because of the branding?
I'm guessing it's a BBC branding thing. And then there was another one where he's trying to describe how phase reversal cancellation works, which again, thank you, David Ashton, for reading through that bit and making sure I was not talking nonsense. And he had to explain to me how it worked first. And I use this metaphor of the
and when
Joy
you say
Division.
He explained how it worked, did he do this in an email that you then cut and paste into your script? Or yes.
But then I found a metaphor for it, which is I talk about the Joy Division, the famous Joy Division cover, which is it's a graph, of a sound graphic image. And it's famous for T-shirts. So he says, that T-shirt your dad wears of Joy Division, and then if you made this reverse and your dad put that T-shirt on as well, then, the T-shirts will cancel each other out, and your dad would be standing there starkers. And I think in the Nutty, I had starkers. None of these things were allowable. I'm not sure why I wasn't allowed to say starkers. So eventually it's, and they would cancel each other out, and it could be awkward or something. Like, the line is very kind of...
It's a bit more ambiguous, so okay.
And I just had no idea why giving your fake father some fake nudity on audio was an issue, but, So really, really little stuff like that.
We've been talking a lot about some of our other works and the references that you've done in this script of Dead Media. One of which is Night Terrace, which is a sci-fi comedy time travel audio story.
Starring Susan from Neighbours.
Starring Susan from Neighbours. # Susan from Neighbours. We have had 2 successful seasons so far. We've won awards. We've been played on the BBC Radio 4 Extra.
Neil Gaiman likes it.
He does.
That's awesome.
And a few more people like it as well, which is always
but
nice.
They're not Neil Gaiman.
You are Neil Gaiman if you want to be. You can be anything you want. No, we love all our fans equally, John. But we are going for season 3 at the moment, and we can only make season 3 if we reach our goal on Kickstarter. That finishes up on November the 22nd, kind of a milestone day for us as Doctor Who enthusiasts.
It's Doctor Who Eve.
Doctor Who Eve, which we've had now because we've had a female doctor. Nice, yeah.
Yeah. So you can find us on Kickstarter. You can go to our website at nightterrace.com and follow the links. You can follow the link that's, over there somewhere.
Spelt out
down
because...
there, yeah.
Yes, Night Terrace, as in a terrace house, because it is a pun.
It's a pun!
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for this lovely discussion.
Petra.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Neil Gaiman.
Well, it's interesting because her lessons do start from within the university context. And I've never seen that many people in an actual lecture. Like, there were thousands of